Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for being with me today. I wanted to do something a little bit different today and talk about some things, well, specifically some people who have been inspiring me right now. They've put out some information that I have found really helpful and motivating, and I thought some of y'all might find it motivating as well. One of them is a TED Talk, two of them are podcasts, one is a YouTuber, final one is a personal development and life coach. So let's get right into it. First off, I want to talk to you about a TED Talk that a friend of mine told me about a little while ago that I had not known was out there. It was actually done several months ago by none other than Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm hoping that you know who he is, but if you don't know, he is an actor and an entrepreneur, and he's a creative person. And I think he is spectacularly talented and he is very accomplished, but he seems to come across as just a genuinely nice and good and kind person. And in this TED Talk, he comes across that way very much. And I think it's fascinating. The TED Talk is specifically about how craving attention makes you less creative. And he talks about his own struggle with craving attention, especially on social media, and how it has affected his creativity, specifically in some negative ways. And it kind of reinforces some other information I've come across recently. There's specifically an article that I read that mentioned, among other people, Bill Hader talking about his own self-doubt and how he, still, even with as successful as he has become, as, the heights that he has reached, he still is struggling with this internal mess of self-doubt and feeling like he hasn't done enough. And in this TED Talk, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is talking about how we can crave attention and we stop paying attention. And as a creative person, we really need to be paying attention. And he talks about, specifically, this one really hit home for me. Instead of looking at people as competitors, he wants to look at the people he's working with as collaborators. And that is something that, as a creative person, as a person who is trying to break into a very competitive business, it can be so easy to fall into that trap of looking at everybody as a competitor, and especially as a woman. Unfortunately, there's something about women and the way we've either been raised or what society does to us. I don't know exactly what it is. It's probably a combination of factors, but we're encouraged to look at each other as competitors. Like we're competing for attention from whether it be people that we want to be our significant other or bosses or somebody who could give us a job or whatever it is. We're competing for attention and we look at people as competitors, not collaborators. And he specifically mentions that that's what he wants to do, is look at people as collaborators, collaborate with people and pay attention to what they're saying and what they're doing, and not get so caught up in craving attention, because he talks about that when he's really concerned with getting attention, he becomes unhappy, but when he's paying attention, that really leads to happiness for him. So, and it's never enough, no matter how many followers you get, it's never enough. I mean, is any of this resonating? It resonated with me, this idea that, especially where I am right now, I am looking for some attention because that's how I would get roles and things. But at the heart of it, what am I looking for? What is going on? Why am I craving that attention? So it was really eye-opening. And underneath the video, there is a tab, I think it might be called Further Information or something like that. But he mentions several resources that I find really interesting, including Jaron Lanier, who you should definitely check out if you have not already, and also the book Flow, which he mentions in the talk. So a wealth of information, great stuff about how even somebody who is really successful can struggle with some of the things that we mere mortals struggle with too. So it's not like you get to a certain level of success and everything is easy. It's not. They still struggle with some of the same stuff that we do. So take heart. The struggle doesn't end. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's kind of nice to know that people who are successful are dealing with some of these things too. So I encourage you to go watch that TED Talk. I will link to it down below. And the second person that I want to talk about is Melissa Alexandria. She has a YouTube channel that I have been subscribed to for quite a few years. And when I first found her, she was talking a lot about minimalism and also about money. specifically how she had been able to save a nice chunk of money so that she could walk away from the corporate world and could walk away from that whole, feeling boxed in by that world, and was able to walk away from it for a while and pursue other more creative things. And she has since shifted a little bit more, and now is especially talking about things like motivation and personal development and some self-help type of stuff. So I think she's a great example for me of someone who started with a certain point of view on specifically YouTube. She also has a blog, but she started with a certain point of view, and she has evolved as time has gone on. It can be easy to get stuck in a rut when you start something and think, oh, I need to do this way until, the end of time. And you don't have to. You can evolve, and I think her channel is a great example of that. I have found some really motivational stuff. I've also found some really practical information. She has put out information on how to start a YouTube channel and why, and also like how to edit a video with free software that you can find out there. So really helpful stuff, but also really good mindset type of information, and how to reach goals, how to set goals, how to make yourself into a better version of yourself, and also some of the things that she struggles with and that other people struggle with. How do you face those? So I will link to her channel in the description box so that you can go check her out. I really highly suggest doing that. I find her information really helpful and really motivating for me. The next two things are both podcasts, and the first one is the Cultivate Your Life podcast with Laura Casey. For those of you who don't know, Laura is the person who is behind the Power Sheets goal setting system. I'm actually following several people this year who are doing the 2019 Power Sheets, and I'm considering investing in the 2020 Power Sheets because I'm going to be moving into a very different stage of life, and I'm going to be really trying to hit those, really going after those goals, and I think that structure might be helpful to me, so I'm considering it. But she has a podcast called Cultivate Your Life, and it is, as you can imagine, from someone who has started a company that's all about goal setting. A lot of it is about goals, and it's about how to set goals and how to achieve those goals and how to go about reaching towards those goals and working on them. I'm going to give you a little disclaimer. She is very religious, and she does mention Christianity a lot, so just keep that in mind in case that's something that doesn't sit well with you. Just know that that comes up a lot. But I do find the goal setting information really interesting. Specifically, there was one thing that really leapt out at me when I was listening to one of the earlier episodes about success. And I know, for me, one of the things that I fear about going after a new thing, a new goal, a new venture, is I worry about not being successful. I worry about failure. I'm thinking I'm going to fail at this because I have failed at some things. But I was listening to one of the earlier episodes, and I realized that maybe one of the things I also fear is being successful and how that could change me as a person, and that success could become so all-encompassing and so important that it could overshadow other important things in my life. So I thought that was really interesting. It's something that makes me question what I've long accepted about myself, that this is the reason I'm afraid of doing things, but maybe there's also more to it than that. So I thought that was really interesting. I will link to her website where you can find the podcast, and also find information about the Power Sheets in case you're interested in looking into those. And the next item I want to talk about is another podcast called Before Breakfast. It is by a woman named Laura Vanderkam, and she is specifically known for doing a lot of work with time management, if you want to call it that, although you really can't manage time. Time is just a thing that happens. But she talks about how we use our time and how we can often not understand how we're using it. And when we understand how we're, utilizing the time that's available to us, we utilize it in a more effective way, we can be more effective in what we're doing. And so she has a couple podcasts, but the one I specifically like to listen to is Before Breakfast. The great thing about this one is the episodes are really short. They're anywhere from like 5 to 8 minutes. I don't think a single one of them is even 10 minutes long. And they all focus on one specific tip or trick or tactic, one little thing each each episode is one little thing, so you're not having to wade through 45 minutes or an hour of information, which can be good for some things. But this one's really great because you can get through them quickly. You can look through the list of titles and take a look and see, which ones look like they would work for you and which ones don't, and just pick and choose which ones look like they have information that could be really useful. A lot of it is really geared towards either people in the career world, that career track, or entrepreneurs, but I think the information could be useful, at least some of it could be really useful for people in pretty much any stage of life. So I encourage you to go check that out. I will link to her website, and I may link to at least one YouTube video that she's in. She doesn't have a YouTube channel, but she does appear in several videos that are on YouTube that have really, really good information. But on her website, you can also, I believe you can sign up for a thing that has an information about how to do a time makeover for yourself so that you can use your own time in a more effective way. So I encourage you to check that out. I haven't done the time makeover myself, but I probably should. But I do find her information really helpful, and I really like the podcast. And finally, the last person I want to talk about is Natalie Bacon. And honestly, I think Natalie is the biggest reason that I'm doing YouTube and other stuff right now, because just in the last year and a half, I have really gotten into what she's been putting out. I've been a follower of hers for quite a while. When I first started finding out about her and getting her newsletter, she was pretty much purely financially focused. She has now evolved into something very different. She started out as a lawyer, then she became a certified financial planner, and now she is a life and career and personal development coach. So she has really evolved as her place in the world has evolved, as her message has evolved. She has really changed, and she's a great example for me that it's okay to shift. It's okay to, as people say, to pivot, to know that even though you started out here, it's okay if you're changing. That's all right. Again, a lot of people will start things and think you have to keep on that path the whole time, and you don't have to. If that's not where, you can take some twists and turns and take, a different path if that works, if that's where life is leading you. She's a great example of that. I took her blog with a full-time job course, which is very self-explanatory. It's all about doing a blog with a full-time job. I am working on a blog, but it is very technical, and I've actually found that oddly enough, YouTube is a little less technical, which is why I've kind of run with that, but I'm still kind of on the back burner with the blog, but I will be putting that out because she encourages you to think of a blog as a business. It's a business, it's not just a hobby. So that was really helpful for some of the technical aspects that I would not have known about a blog, but also how to build, once you're done with building the blog and the technical stuff, how do you do email lists, and what content are you putting out for people so that you can help people and build a business. But I also took personal development for her, which is another one of her courses, and that one, this is going to sound really dramatic, but it was mind-blowing. It was amazing because it's all about, so much of it is about changing your mindset and how thoughts are just, you can change your thoughts. We often think that we're stuck in whatever thought pattern we have, especially as adults. We don't think that we're as malleable as we really are, but we are. And that course is all about understanding how your brain works and understanding how you can reframe things so that you can be more effective in what you're doing, and so that you're not standing in your own way, as we say. Sometimes we block ourselves. A lot of times it's these ingrained thoughts that we think are just there and we're stuck with them, but we're not. We can change them, and I found that course immensely helpful for understanding that. It is a deep dive. There's hours of information that she has videos with slides and all sorts of information, and then she has worksheets that you go through and fill everything out and do a lot of writing and thinking and really considering where you are now, and is this working, and if it's not working, how can you change, and understanding that you can change. And I think that's a very powerful thing. I know personal development can come across as very navel-gazing and self-indulgent, and it can be. But I think for a lot of us, it's really helpful because many of us have thought patterns that are not helping us. They're really keeping us from being able to do everything that we're capable of doing. And so I think it's really helpful to do that inward work to then bring it to, so that you can then help people. Turning outward, you can help other people. And I also really appreciate that Natalie talks about it's okay to sit with some of these negative feelings and emotions. And when you're building a business, you're going to be uncomfortable, and be okay with that. So she's not all about this being positive all the time and don't be unhappy and all of that. She acknowledges that there are going to be difficult times, that you're going to have what we think of as negative emotions. Be okay with that, exist in those for a while, and expect that that will happen, and that's normal. And don't deny them, don't try and bury them, but let them happen so that you can be basically a full version of yourself. So highly recommend that. I will link to her website down below where you can find out information on all of her courses. She has some free resources, so you can sign up for some free email trainings and things like that then can sort of lead into deeper work if you're interested. So those are 5 people who have really motivated and inspired me recently, and I hope they have been helpful for you. Please check out all the information that I'm going to link down below. Whatever looks interesting, because like I said, these have been really helpful for me. I hope they're helpful for you. And of course, please like, please share, please subscribe. Feel free to share this video with anybody that you think could be helped by the information that I shared. I love sharing information. I love getting information from other people. It's one of the great things about the internet. Yeah, I know the internet has its issues, but finding out about new and interesting information is one of the best things about it. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I will see you next time. Bye.